so.
That's true too. Just needed another moment for this to go live. Great. All right. So we're live. I have 5:58. We will open up the meeting to attendees in 2 minutes. Karen, do you want to go over your ground rules at the beginning of the meeting?
Yeah, and if you have anything to add, I mean, basically, we're gonna, committee members and community board members are gonna be given priority to speak first, and we're just asking people to please try and restrict it to 2 minutes.
And I'll have a timer up and I'll say people could watch my screen. I'll hold it up like my hand is up right now.
Right, and also, since it's a discussion, you know, we can call on you again. It's
Right. All right, good. And Natasha's about to join us as well. She was in transit.
Jeremy, I think your hair looks terrific, and I think you should wear it like that all the time.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. I wish nature would allow me to.
I'm thinking Three Musketeers look. D'Artagnan, perhaps.
Oh, I thought you meant the candy bar. All right. All right. So I'm gonna go live or start the webinar. So attendees should start to populate now. And we have a couple already. Hopefully a few more will be joining us. And
We're
Karen.
still not, it's not 6 yet, so we'll hold off for a few minutes.
All right. Karen, Natasha should be signing in right about now.
I'm here.
She's
Hi,
here
Natasha.
Hi, everyone.
When you're ready to start, she's going to call roll, and she has 3 committees to call tonight.
You made me co-host, Jeremy?
Oh, no, let me make you co-host now.
And
we're live and attendees are in now.
Okay, probably missed it, but who's handling Q&A and who's watching the emails?
Maria, would you watch emails and I'll handle Q&A.
Okay.
If I need additional help on Q&A, I'll ask.
Okay.
So Natasha, your co-host, I'm going to rename you Natasha Cordero/staff.
Okay. Hi, Joan.
Hi, everybody.
Hi, Joan. Do we have some new folks joining us tonight? We're just waiting a couple of minutes to start the meeting. Please be patient.
Also, Danielle Lay is also a member of the committee now.
Oh, right,
She
yes.
should be a panelist.
She has I see she's joined us on a panelist link.
Okay.
Maybe at the very beginning of the meeting, you might want to just ask her to say hello so we can see who she is and hear her voice.
Okay.
Hello.
Oh, hi, Barbara. You're the first speaker.
Oh, great. That's
We're going to wait a couple of minutes, though. It's 6 o'clock. We should wait, I think, till 6:02 at least.
Okay, that's fine. Just let me know.
All right.
Natasha, what was it? A day or two ago, it was 22 reservations?
She's left the room.
Oh, she's away from her computer. Natasha? How many reservations was it the last time you checked? You're on mute.
Last time I checked was, I think, 10.
Oh,
But
only 10?
I think 10. I could be
10
wrong.
plus board members.
No, I don't count the attendees. I count just the public.
Oh, okay.
The people who register are the people who are going to be attendees. Last
Gotcha.
time I checked, I think it was 10.
Oh, I thought you had told me 22. I'm sorry.
I could have got it confused with another meeting, possibly.
Oh, okay.
There's a lot of stuff coming up. Hector Gonzalez just texted me that he's here, but the system he's using has no sound.
Hmm.
So I see
I see his name.
yeah, and I guess it doesn't have video either.
He texted you. I think we could accept that and see his name. I think we could accept that as attendance when you call his name.
Okay. So I'll just write back to him. We'll count him as present.
Well, you could do that when you call attendance,
Yep.
and he could likely hear us now.
Yeah, he says no sound, no video. Okay. So let me know when you want me to call attendance. I'm ready.
That will be when Karen
I
decides to
guess
open.
6:03, we could start calling attendance now. I'll do a brief introduction first, and that's that I'm Karen Rolnick. I'm the chair of the ad hoc committee on homelessness issues for CB7, and this is a joint committee meeting. So we also have Cynthia Felix of the Public Safety Committee and Cynthia Gonzalez of the Health and Mental Health Committee. And so we're going to start by, and we have a new member, Danielle Lay. Can you wave to us, Danielle?
Hi, Danielle.
She's on the homelessness committee. So I guess Natasha can start taking attendance for the committees, and then we'll get rolling.
Folks, I'm gonna mute.
Because
I'm sorry, Cynthia.
I also want to welcome Danielle because I think she's also on public safety.
That's correct.
So welcome, Danielle.
Folks, I'm going to mute everybody for Natasha to call roll. When it's your turn to respond to her, please remember to unmute yourself first. Take it away, Natasha.
Okay, Cesar Zuniga.
Natasha, you're muted.
I'm so sorry. Cesar Zuniga. Karen Rolnick. I'm calling homelessness committees first.
Here.
Sylvia Agosto. Alexa Aviles. Hector Gonzalez.
Here, hola, sorry.
Hector Gonzalez is present. Danielle Lay.
Here.
Okay, thank you. Barbara Lee.
Here.
Antoinette Martinez. Okay, Sylvia Augusto, can you unmute yourself?
I'm sorry, I didn't see that before, that's why.
Okay, you're present, thank you.
Yes.
Okay,
yes.
you can mute yourself again. All right. Antoinette Martinez for Homelessness Committee. Okay, next is going to be Health and Mental Health Committee. Cynthia Gonzalez.
Present.
Pat Ruiz.
Here. Hello, everyone.
Griselle Amador. Oh, you have to unmute yourself, Griselle.
Present.
Thank you. Joan Body.
Here.
Thank you. Cynthia Felix.
Here. Good evening, everyone.
Anthony Giglio. Christina Lem. Aurelis Martinez. Gloria Rodriguez Novoa. Okay, next will be public safety. Cesar Zuniga, Cynthia Felix,
Here.
Anthony Giglio. Joan Body, I have you. Denny Chen, Ken Fung, John Garcia, Hector Gonzalez, Zachary JC, John Johnston, Daniel Lay.
Yeah, John Johnston here.
Thank you, John.
Danielle's
Daniel
here.
Lay. Okay. Barbara Lee,
Here.
Jimmy Lee, Paul Mack, and Sam Sierra.
Thank you, Natasha.
You're welcome.
Karen, it's all yours. And Karen, I'm going to make you a co-host as well as the other chairs. I'm going to make them co-hosts.
Good, thank you. Okay, so first I'm going to ask Barbara Lee to say a few words because she was able to attend I guess it was a town hall meeting regarding vaccinating the homeless, and she's going to inform us what she learned.
Hi, everybody. I'm Barbara. On Wednesday, March 24th, 2021, I attended a COVID-19 town hall on vaccinations for individuals experiencing homelessness in New York City and beyond. The vaccination program started on March 4th, 2021, and as of March 19th, 4,917 individuals have been vaccinated. The city is mainly using Johnson & Johnson vaccines, and those individuals at the Bellevue shelter will also have the option of using the Pfizer vaccine. Isolation and quarantine hotels are available. All would-be residents will undergo COVID-19 assessment during their intake into the shelter system. At the time of the meeting, there was no clear plan for unsheltered homeless. The city of Chicago has many people going out to vaccinate unsheltered homeless with the one-time Johnson & Johnson vaccine. One would hope that New York City will follow suit with that. In the meantime, there are about 50 to 60 clinics on site at some hotels. One question that was not answered was, what happens to clients who decline to be tested? Are they isolated or refuse service? That question was not answered. And that's my report. Any questions?
Barbara.
No questions? Okay.
Folks, when you do have questions, please use the raise hand function as well.
Okay, so we're calling this meeting because many community members, including many people on this board, have noticed an uptick in, there are now 7 hotel shelters within a 1-mile strip of 4th Avenue, and it is having a noticeable impact. There have been an increase in complaints to the police department. There have been an increase in complaints to 311 and 911 about all kinds of issues, from nuisance issues to petty crime to even a little more severe crime. And we are all very concerned about it. And we want to figure out as a community board how we want to respond, what we want to ask for. And it ended up being a much more complicated question than we had originally anticipated. You know, first of all, it would seem like maybe having the police do additional rounds would be a good idea. However, there's a move underfoot to move away from the police taking care of social you know, issues that regard homelessness and possible mental health issues, and maybe moving towards social workers. And perhaps we want to ask that social workers be assigned to walk this strip and see if we can rein in some of the behavior. And mostly I'm just here to listen and find out what the members of the community board and the committees and the community feel about this issue. So if anyone has any comments to make about, I'm ready to hear.
So board members or panelists to start, if you would use the raise hand function if you would like to speak. And Karen, hopefully you could see the folks with the raised hands. You could call on them. Otherwise, you could ask me to call on them.
Okay, I see Cynthia right now.
Okay. And attendees, you're welcome to raise your hands, but you're going to be the second round after the panelists. Cynthia Gonzalez,
Okay, I'm unmuting myself
you're unmuted.
because I always forget to do that. Well,
Karen, by the way, Karen, you said you were going to ask for a time clock. I'm assuming that doesn't apply to the other chairs, though.
Okay. Hopefully everyone will just be concise because there are a lot of people here tonight and we want to hear from everyone.
Right. So it doesn't apply to the other chairs, Cynthia, but we are going to ask others to stick to a 2-minute time clock. I will have the time clock up in my panel. You could always be called again, but we're trying to hear as many voices as possible. Sorry, Cynthia, please continue.
well, the one thing that I wanted to talk about, because in the last meeting that I participated in regarding the homeless committee, you know, I was able to hear the distress of the community members, of you know, the homeowners, and about what they have to deal with these people coming in. And you know, like at that point I think we were dealing with the hotel on 23rd Street. And one of the most distressing things that I heard that evening was that a resident was threatened. The person was told, "I'll kill you and your dog," you know. And you know, when Karen says that, you know, we're trying to move away from police handling the problems of the homeless. Okay, that's fine. You know, I mean, homelessness is a problem of everybody, not just the police. But when people commit crimes, and I said it at that meeting, you know, that if a person threatened my life, my child, my animal, or whatever, you know, to me, that's a police matter. That's not like a homeless matter. That could have been anybody that was being, you know, it didn't have to be a homeless person. And in that meeting, I also heard that people are not given summonses because they can't pay. I'm sorry. You know, what happened to community service? If you commit a crime and you can't pay, you're sent to do community service. You're not just allowed to sit on your ass and do nothing just because you're homeless. You have to be accountable for your actions. And this is what we're dealing with the problems that we're dealing with tonight. Yes, it's a fact that some of these people have mental health problems, but as a social worker and a therapist, I mean, more than almost 3 decades, you cannot, how should I say, force a person to get mental health services. You can't. That's why there's so many people running around with mental health issues that never get resolved, because there's no way of forcing a person. Because you're mentally ill does not make you a criminal. But when people are faced with criminal actions, like we hear on the news every day, people being pushed onto trees, people being, you know, assaulted in the streets, you know, those are criminal actions. You know, sometimes I wonder, you know, why are people trying to divest from, you know, the police? Because they don't do anything. They don't do anything. They don't want to do anything. They get called to do something and they look the other way. They don't even get out of the car. What? Oh, yeah, now because it's a pandemic, because they might get COVID. What about pre-COVID? They never even got out of their cars to address anything. So this is the systemic problem that we're dealing with. And quite frankly, these homeless people that are committing these actions against our community, they have more power than us. You know, the residents, the homeowners, the police, they have more power than anybody, and they know it. So something clearly has to be done about people who are homeless, who are committing crimes. Listen, let me tell you something. I used to see the signs in the subway: no spitting, no radio, no this, no that. You know, I mean, whoever obeyed those laws? People would spit, they will listen to the, I mean, you know, now there are no signs to remind anybody of that anymore. But now we have people that just because they have a situation of homelessness, they have a sense of entitlement to come into a different community and upset the lives of everybody. Something clearly must be done. And I'm saying that a simple thing like if the police give them a summons, if they cannot pay the summons, they need to go and do community service, because clearly if they're out wandering around the streets causing mayhem, they're not disabled. They have to do community service. They need to be assigned somewhere and pay for what they have done. And this is what I'm not getting, you know, like, what is the problem? Is the problem the homeless people? Is the problem the police will not enforce anything? I mean, what are we paying our taxes here for? You know, to support police that don't do their job, and homeless people that are never going to amount to anything because there are no services that make them do something?
Thank you, Cynthia.
Okay, I think I said enough.
We have a couple of hands up, but I wanted to mention to Karen that Cynthia Felix's hand is up, and she is another of our co-chairs for this evening, so you might want to.
Yes, Cynthia Felix, please.
Thank you. Thank you, Karen and Cynthia, for co-hosting this meeting today, and everyone who's on tonight. I have a lot of concerns regarding the last meeting that we had, and a lot of unfinished questions that we had that were never answered, frankly speaking. I know Yuri is somewhere on here. I saw her before, but myself and a lot of the board members had some questions that I don't think were ever answered. And I think part of the problem is a lot of lack of transparency that causes people not to trust. So one of the things that we asked was, what was the plan to relocate the homeless from the pandemic hotels? What was the plan if they wanted to reallocate the shelter, the particular hotel on 22nd Street back to a family? How was that decision made? And there were really no answers for the community as to all that, how that came to be. Another thing that we asked was for the hotels to have contact information outside of their hotels. And a lot of those things, did they happen? Are they in the process of happening? We asked for statistics on 911 calls and 311 calls from all the shelters that were in that radius. I know, Karen, you just recently asked on what state of the DHS police force, and because that was being restructured. I don't know if they replied back to you. So I think a lot of the things that we could come up with solutions, but we also need clear answers and transparency from city agencies so that we could all work together, because we as a community could do so much. We could point out the problem, we could come up with solutions, but if they're not enforced, and if we're not working on clear data, that we know that we have a foundational data and a set of data that we could say, hey, we have X amount of incidents at this location, it makes it more difficult.
Thank you, Cynthia. Karen, now that we're going to go to the general membership of the board, we're going to institute that 2-minute clock, and folks could always raise their hand again to speak a second or
Right.
third.
You have a way of knowing who raised their hand first?
Yeah, if you see their names, it should be in order. If not, I'm happy to call them. I see it in order.
Right, if you could call the next person then, because I
Sure.
can't really see the order from my.
I got it. I got it. So Barbara Lee is next.
Okay, so at the last meeting, I found the Department of Homeless Services incredibly disrespectful to us. When the residents and the homeowners spoke, and even board members tried to ask questions, they were really dismissive and treated us like we were like kind of like entitled snots, you know, like we're NIMBY people. Oh, we don't want those people in our neighborhoods. And they were really rude to us. That first person who was supposedly answering questions, she refused to answer. It wasn't that, oh, we couldn't, we wasn't able to do it. She refused. And she was rude. I mean, in a way, I prefer that than the previous times we spoke to DHS and they said, oh, this is going to happen. This is going to happen. And nothing happened. At least like she showed, like, we don't care. And I'm showing it. And that's a really horrible way of thinking about somebody or thinking about a department of the city, but that's how it is. And like, if we can't deal with them and they refuse to, can we go over them? Who else can we do? Because like, they obviously really don't care. They're going to do what they want, no matter what. They may say, oh, we're going to help you. And they're not. Obviously, because this has been going on since 2016. They have no intention of trying to work with the community, not at all. Thank you.
I have Alexa Aviles next.
Hey, everyone. Thank you so much for having this joint committee meeting. Actually, Cynthia kind of took much of the comments and questions I had. I was wondering if we have had any report back on any of the issues, and if in fact Yuri is on this phone call, that we figure out, I mean, is she here to just listen? Is she here to respond? I would love to learn more about what her particular role is here in this conversation, but yeah, curious about any feedback information either from the residents or from
DHS is
any.
always welcome. Well, DHS is also always invited to the homelessness committee meetings because, you know, and she's invited, and if she has anything to comment, we're happy to hear her responses. And if she's just here to listen, that's fine too.
Okay,
For this
but
particular meeting.
she,
This
she's
particular
gonna
meeting, I'm trying to,
respond.
right, this particular meeting, I'm trying to find out from the community board and the committee members what course of action we should be taking to confront this issue.
And just as a follow-up from the last meeting regarding 22nd Street, I was able to broker a meeting between the leadership at the shelter and the agency that runs the shelter, as well as the folks who run the block association. So they now are in communication with each other. This was just last week. I have not followed up with them, but hopefully they are now in communication and able to resolve minor problems before they become major problems.
That's great to hear. I think that's part of the challenge here is without adequate ongoing information, you know, like that particular instance that Cynthia brought up that we did hear about, right? From my understanding, that instance was in fact resolved. However, there are other issues.
Right,
So
that
without
person
kind of
in question was transferred.
Yeah, and so without, like, I guess what I would caution us is to be mindful that we're not reacting to issues that have been resolved, but that we're really trying to get as much updated information, because if there are things that are resolving, like Jeremy, what you mentioned, like being able to broker that meeting, that's an important update that we have, you know, that we're being kept abreast about. So I guess, so from then to now, with the exception of that, we don't have any other information.
Regarding which?
Any of the questions that Cynthia outlined, right? Like, is there a continued uptick, or are things plateaued? What does it really
So
look
that
like?
that I don't know. I could say that I know they don't know the schedule for closing the quote unquote COVID shelters at this point. At least that was the last update that I had heard. And it's difficult to figure out when they're going to be able to do that at this point. That's obvious. Obviously, that's also going to be concerned with what Barbara updated us on earlier with vaccinations for folks in the shelters. Karen, I
Yuri?
don't have, oh, I'm sorry.
I was gonna say, I saw Yuri's hand up a moment ago. Yuri, is there anything you want to say right at this moment, or are you just listening right now?
So honestly, I am here. Jeremy has my information. Karen, you have my information. I try my hardest to always get responses, right? For you all. I'm very sorry to hear about what happened. Community engagement, it's very important to me and the agency. As soon as it was brought to my attention that a client threatened the neighbor, I immediately let the assistant commissioner know and the shelter know, and that client was transferred. It was a snowstorm. So as soon as they were able to, so that part of the story is missing. But as soon as it was brought to my attention that the client, committed this egregious, threat, I flagged it immediately and he was transferred.
I
We
vouch for
have
that.
we have
I
good neighbor
communicated with Yuri and
policy.
she responded right away, so I vouch for that.
Yeah, I'm always striving. Listen, guys, I'm not gonna make up any answers for you. So if I'm not able to, provide an answer, I apologize, but I always try my best. If there's something happening, please reach out to me. I'll put my information in the chat, right? Jeremy informed me that he had problems, connecting with the AAPCI to do the meeting. I immediately flagged it for the assistant commissioner, and guess what? The conversation happened. So I
Vouch
am
for that
always,
too.
yeah, absolutely. I'm here to listen, guys, and I'm here to respond. I know folks are very determined to find out when are these hotels, being shut down and they're returning to their sites. Guys, we still don't know. We're waiting on CDC guidelines and the state. So it's health, pretty much is guided by health. As soon as we get the green lights, then it'll happen. It's very costly. It's not the best situation to, have clients in hotels, but we can't go against, health and safety guidelines. As far as the vaccine, a lot of the clients are getting vaccinated. They're going on their own. DHS, we have a specific site where even I or any DHS, DSS, HRA employee can go, get vaccinated. We have sites and we have availability, but we can't, at the end of the day, we can't force people to get vaccinated, but we highly encourage it. It's a personal decision. So there's no, we can't kick someone out if for whatever reason they refuse to, get vaccinated. There's protocols, mask wearing, sanitizing, and we do the best that we can.
Thank you.
You, Yuri. I have Cynthia Felix's hand up next.
I just want to say, just to reiterate what Alexa said, it seems that we're very reactive to things. A situation happens, we contact you, you contact back. And it's more about being proactive, not reactive. So yes, you may respond to an emergency situation because to me, someone threatens the life of someone, that requires an immediate reaction. But what I was speaking more about proactive things that we didn't receive answers to, like the number of incidents that have occurred, not just there, but throughout. What are some of the plans that you guys have? What are some of the communication protocols that you have? That was what I was referring to, not this one particular situation. And while that was a horrific situation, it's isolated. And we keep saying that one was resolved, but not all of them are resolved. There's still outstanding issues that are still out there that we didn't receive answers to. So I think that instead of taking such a reactive approach all the time, that we need to be more proactive and get on it before it occurs. That shouldn't have happened.
I hear you, Cynthia. As far as incidents, it is mandatory for service providers to let us know if a client is arrested on site as well as off site. Someone is sick, medical. So those priority incidents, are immediately reported to DHS. As far as providing the numbers to you all, I've inquired from the deputy commissioner whether, this information can be shared. To my understanding, we have not, shared the numbers of, priority incidents at shelter sites across the board. So once I get a final answer, I will let you know, but we are being proactive. As a matter of fact, I am not on the ground, right? I work with the community boards, I work with the electeds. There's so much I can do. The site providers, right? AAPCI, et cetera, Samaritan Village, et cetera, they are on the ground. They have folks doing perimeter rounds to make sure that clients are adhering to the good neighbor policy. So I can't react. I cannot, I can't be, proactive to the extent that you're asking. I can only react. You can flag for me if a provider, is problematic, like they're not monitoring their clients, crime is rampant, whatever it is, but there's so much I can do.
Thank you. I have Pat Ruiz next.
Hi, good evening all. I happen to have been one of those folks that didn't get one of her questions answered. What I got was a website. I am respectfully asking that if you do not have an answer for someone, at least say, I don't have an answer. I will follow up and get back to you. Giving them a website doesn't, at least for me, doesn't satisfy me. I want to hear, I know the answer, or I don't know the answer. No one's going to get penalized because you don't have the response right away. Thank you.
Ms. Ruiz, you're
Yes.
you're highly mistaken.
No, I'm
I've
not.
I've never shared a website. When I use the word site, I'm referring to
I'm
a
not here to
shelter.
argue. I don't
No,
want to
I'm not
argue.
arguing. I have to be
respectfully
clear.
asking that you
I'm
just
speaking.
say
I
that
am
you
speaking.
don't know
I
the
allowed
answer
you to.
to
You
the
are allowed to speak.
question.
Please let me
And
speak.
again, this is what you did the
Please
last
let me
time.
speak.
I'm
You're speaking over me. You're not
No, no,
allowing
no.
me to respond.
Okay, folks. Pat, let's give Yuri the opportunity to speak and you can respond to her. Yuri?
Yeah. So as I was saying, Jeremy, folks, when I said the word site, people think website. Site means shelter. So when I mention site, I've never directed anyone to a website, never will. Okay, so it's not a site. And I always say that I don't have the answer, right? I will never make anything up. I will always say that I'll get back to you, which I do get back in writing most of the times. Thank you.
Pat, would you like to respond before we move on to the next hand?
Listen, no disrespect. I know you got a hard job. I understand fully. All right. Like I said, the only thing that I request, and I do this myself, if I don't have an answer to a question at that particular moment, I at least say to the person, I have got your information. I've got the question. If I cannot get back to you, then I will get to whoever it is that's running the meeting, and that would be the district manager, which is Jeremy Lawford. That is the only thing. And I truly understand the pressure when you work for the city of New York. I was an employee of the city of New York and no longer am. So thank you so much for listening to me.
I have John Johnston next.
To the community. And the second thing we could do is if DHS doesn't want to give the numbers, foil the numbers and they'll be forced to give the numbers to us. That's all. I'm done.
John, with regard to your second point, I've been told that the city cannot foil itself, but perhaps there are some community groups that would be interested in working with us.
Yes, and thank you for that, John, because that's the second time that provision has been brought up, and it's not a provision I'm familiar with. And I think that is something that we as a community board definitely should proceed with. And, we should look into this Fair Share Act. And what did you call it? The Fair Share Review?
It's it's part of the city. It's a part of the charter amendment in the 1990s when they redid it. So it's fair share. No one community is supposed to be forced to take shelters or facilities like sewer plants over another community. Everyone has to share the burden from one community to another. I'm not a lawyer, so I don't want to, read it incorrectly, but that's what I learned in my city government class.
Right, so that would be something that we could maybe address, the issue of having 7 of the emergency hotel shelters within a 1-mile radius could be a violation of that act, and I
Yeah,
think that is
could be.
definitely something we should look
So
into.
I, like John, am also not an attorney, but I think that is something we could certainly ask for at the very least. Karen, I don't see any other panelist hands up. Do I have your permission to open it up to
Yes, Sylvia.
attendees?
Sylvia's
Oh, I'm sorry.
waving her physical hand.
Gotcha. Okay, Cynthia, you can unmute yourself.
Sylvia
Oh,
Augusto.
Sylvia, I'm sorry. You can unmute yourself.
Hi, I've worked with Samaritan Village, and I've asked the staff to let me to ask the clients there to do community service with me, and it's worked out lovely. The men who have volunteered have worked in Bush Terminal, have worked in Sunset Park, have worked in Rainbow. They volunteer their time, they do community service, and they feel good about it. But there is a glitch because they want to do more of it, but for whatever reason, the staff or whoever, I don't know who, there's not, they don't want to do it as much. Plain and simple. I would like to see that more, because it gives you an opportunity to talk to the clients. And I think that that's one thing that we need to do, is talk to the clients and what are their needs, not hear it from the staff, but hear it from them. And that's something that we should look into. In regards to police, I know the police have been working very hard. We have a situation in Sunset Park with homelessness there, where they don't have any place to go. And they've been trying their hardest to try to clear that area, but they just keep on coming back. They cannot force them to leave. And there's a situation there that is dangerous. In regards to one of the things also that I want to do, what is the day-to-day situation, excuse me, with my dog? What is the situation with stop. What is the situation day by day with the clients? Like, what is their schedule? I'm sorry, what is their schedule? Willow, stop. What is their schedule? Do the clients have to leave a certain time of the day? Do they get food at the hotels? How much food do they get? Because I've heard that they get like small trays of TV dinner, and that's what they get. And then they, I don't know the situation to say that I know it for sure 100%, but there is problems in each of these shelters. And what do they do with the clients? If a client comes in intoxicated, what is the procedure for that client?
That's time, Sylvia.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
That's time. We could call you again,
Okay,
but we're giving everyone 2 minutes.
I have a lot of questions. I'm sorry, and suggestions.
Okay, thank you, Sylvia. Speaking to the actual clients would be a great idea. And I know that DHS, if they don't provide food, they provide a way of preparing food. That's correct, I think. And, you bring up a lot of good points. I would also like to find out from everyone if anyone has any particular thoughts or feelings about whether, we have 7 hotels within a 1-mile radius. Can we ask the police to patrol that area more frequently, or is there a way of asking DHS outreach to patrol that area, just that 1-mile radius, more frequently? And whether we want to lean towards social workers or police, or if anyone has any ideas or thoughts about that.
So again, Karen, I only see one attendee hand up. May I call the attendee?
Sure.
Okay. That would be Jimmy Attilis. Jimmy, I'm going to ask you to unmute. You're
Hi.
unmuted now, Jimmy, and like our board members, you will also have 2 minutes.
Hi, I while you guys are all sleeping, I'm at work at NYU Langone, Brooklyn. I've lived all my life in Sunset Park, and I can tell you that the crime in Sunset Park now is like the mid-70s here, because I'm getting assaults. I'm constantly being used to interpret for all these poor Guatemalans, Mexicans, Salvadorians that are getting beat up just when they go to the store to buy milk and beer. Or if not that, if they go to 51st Street to the Chase there or the 54th Street, and people are getting beat up to the point where I bought myself a taser, I bought my daughter a taser, and I bought my son a taser. It is very scary how the crime here, and I got to deal with these guys every night when they're either on synthetic pot, cough medicine, or just drunk, and they come to the job, and if a nurse has to give them Narcan, they all go ballistics, and the fighting that they do. I had an incident where about 3 months ago, this gentleman had wanted OxyContin. The doctor didn't give him the certain amount. He was discharged, and as he walked out of the emergency room, he lunged at me and 2 other security guards with a knife. I mean, the guy ran out. We ran after him, and then I called the cops. The 7-2 responded immediately, which I thank him from the heart. And that guy got arrested. And that guy got sent to the street right after I left my shift in the morning, because I saw him in the Pena Park, which is so close to my house. And this is a problem because I'm getting threatened because I'm the security supervisor that's holding them down. And these poor people that are getting assaulted left and right, when they come, and a lot of them don't want to call the cops because they're undocumented, but a lot of them do call the cops, and the cops say the same thing when they look at the video, that it's the guys from the shelter. And I dealt with one guy recently, 2 days ago in the Bush Terminal Park while I was riding my bike. The guy saw me. It's amazing. My coworkers don't recognize me with my mask, my helmet, my tights, and my jacket. And these guys can spot me a mile away. And the guy confronted me. Thank God I had my chain with me, because I told him.
Please finish up.
And I told him in Bush Terminal Park that if, to leave me alone, to get a life, or, do something. And then his other buddies got up, and I said, listen, if I got to slam you guys with my chain, I will. But I took off on my bike. Unfortunately, I have to leave an area where I've been living 55 years.
Thank you, Jimmy. You can raise your hand again, but we're trying to time everybody to give everybody a chance. Folks, anybody is able to raise their hand now, please feel free.
Yuri, go ahead.
I have Yuri's hand up next.
Yeah, I wanted to say, Sylvia, I believe I met you at the Samaritan Village, Community Advisory Board meeting in the past. And I want to say thank you so much for, partnering with our clients, facilitating them doing something positive, with their time. Day to day, we do not ask clients to leave. That is something of the past, years and years ago. Clients have 24/7 access to the shelter, right? No one is being kicked out. I mean, clearly you have to clean the room. So there might be a period they have access, not necessarily to the room, but to the common areas, right? So no one is being kicked out. We provide 3 meals. Some people complain, maybe it's too salty, maybe it's too fatty, maybe it's, it's not enough, but they are provided with 3 meals. And also while they are in shelter, they have access to, public assistance. So they may get, cash assistance, public benefits that they're, able to use on their own. If a client comes in intoxicated, checks are done at the door. So, EMS may be called depending on, on the level. So it may be a medical situation. If someone comes in intoxicated, they're not allowed, to just like go into the shelter. It poses a threat to themselves as well as the other clients and staff. So, staff, a lot of the staff are, social workers and trained in trauma and how to de-escalate, situations. So no one is allowed to like enter, being visibly like intoxicated at the shelter site. And as far as the, you guys flagging that, we have a concentration of, shelters within a 1 mile radius. Here's what I will do. I will speak to the deputy commissioner and as well as DHS programs about what the respective shelter sites are doing as far as perimeter rounds, because there are other areas, not in Sunset Park, but there are other areas where, there's a collaborative effort. So like if there's two sites, right, that is pretty close by, like the security will work together to do the rounds and make sure, clients are adhering to the good neighbor policy. So I will flag it again. I will flag your concerns to the deputy commissioner. Captain Castro, he called me today and flagged, about crime and disorder. I've asked him for statistics and to put it in writing so I can share it with the agency, and we can possibly, have a sit down and, come to a solution.
Thank you, Yuri. I gave you more time because I figured people wanted to hear the end of that answer. I have Cynthia Gonzalez next. Cynthia, you can unmute yourself.
Yes, I'm just gonna go back to what I started with, which is in the last meeting that we had with the people on 23rd Street, a lot of the issues that they were bringing up was that they were being burdened with mental health issues because their fear and their lack of safety when they report something. Now, Yuri told us that the person who had threatened to kill the man and his dog, his family, his child or whatever, that person was transferred. According to the people on that block that reported on that day, that person was back within 3 days back to the same shelter. So they were not permanently transferred. They were like temporarily removed from that situation. Now, Jimmy, accurately reports that the crime has increased and that immigrants are being beat up, and some of them safety issue when a person in a hospital, in an emergency room, lunges at the security personnel with a knife. They are taken away by the police, and right the next day they're back on the street. So, this is the issue. Like, we are not safe. People are complaining that we are not safe, and these people seem to have more rights than we do. The law-abiding, tax-paying citizen, we don't have the same rights that these people have. So clearly, that is a problem, because if a person lunges at security people with a knife, that's a crime. That is a legitimate crime where somebody should be locked up because they are a danger to themselves. Okay, so a person comes to the hotel, they're intoxicated, so they are not allowed in because they're a danger to themselves and to other residents in the shelter. No, they're just thrown out back in the street so they can attack us, the residents and the community people. So I don't understand the logic of how these problems are being addressed. I'm wondering, because you're not gonna send a mental health professional to deal with a violent criminal. They're not the police. They're gonna put their lives at risk there with a person who, if you talk to them the wrong way, they're gonna try to kill you with a knife. This is what needs to be understood. Who has rights here? Do we, as the law-abiding citizens of our community who have been here, like myself, my whole entire life, I'm gonna take, first of all, I'm taking my chances with COVID, but now I have to take my chances with these criminals? They need to be put away. Something needs to be done, which is why I say that the police are not really doing their job, because how can the police send somebody right back out into the street to do the same thing to another person?
Thank you, Cynthia. Karen, there are some comments in the Q&A.
Okay,
If you like, I could read them.
okay, would you please? I think.
Okay. Jessica Morales wrote this. She said, is there an official plan in regards to the homeless? There was a half-naked woman sitting in the children's park. Then there are women from the shelter smoking pot in the pot. I guess that's a typo. She was not being a menace, but little kids are seeing this. I have called 311 homeless services to the area 2 times. Not to sound like a broken record, but something needs to be done. We are paying high property taxes, living in a neighborhood. We needed assurances. And then I believe he was also the one who wrote a suggestion is to have more patrols on the street. To address one of those issues, as of last week, it is legal to smoke pot on the street.
But not in the parks.
Not in the parks, not on
Not in
beaches.
the park.
Technically, it's wherever you are allowed to smoke cigarettes.
And the other issue is, you know, when people are nude and naked and things, it's often an issue of mental health, which is why so many of these issues get crossed over with each other. You know, normally functioning people, I hate to use the term normal, but normally functioning people don't walk around half naked. So, you know.
I have a couple of other hands up now, and then I think there's more in the Q&A. I have John Johnston next.
So on the question of the playground, Jeremy, could we get a sign for the playground that you must have a child? In the past, we used to use it. For example, you say you must have a child in order for an adult to be in the playground. That should, and then the police can actually summon them, or Parks Patrol can actually take them away. And I mean, everyone wants the police, but we as the citizens have handcuffs the New York City Police Department. We can't have our cake and eat it too. The police, you don't want police to do something, you want the police to do something. If the police do something and they do it wrong, then they're in trouble as well. So that's why the police are not doing anything. That's all I have to say.
Thank you. I have a quick comment or question that I also want to throw out there. And that's that on the hotel near me, I'm on the hotel on 32nd Street. It's a women's hotel. I think it's called the L Hotel. But at any rate, the shopkeepers on that corner were having issues with the women hanging out and intimidating their clients, their customers and whatnot. And we found that we asked the hotel to put up a bench in front of the hotel, because we found that these women just wanted to be outdoors in the warm weather, and there was no place for them to just hang out and be outdoors in the warm weather. And on that block, installing the bench really helped. And I wanted to get people's feedback on if they thought that would be something we should ask the shelter managers to consider. So if anyone has any thoughts on that, let us know.
So Karen, I have Jimmy Attilis again.
Sure.
Jimmy, you could unmute yourself. You're unmuted.
Hi. Yeah, like you know, my thing is with all these shelters, I think, Jeremy, we have like 11 now or 12 from the span of Sunset Park, like the Pena Park in the summertime. That park is full. I get out of work at 7 o'clock in the morning, and by the time I find parking, there are about 4 to 5, 6, 7 people. And by the time that I leave at 10 to go to work at night, they're still in that park. And no kids, they're smoking pot, they're doing that. It's kind of messed up for me because of whatever issues I get with them when they come to the hospital, and I have to hold them. That way they don't hit the nurses or the doctors or they get upset. Unfortunately, I have to take pictures of them and show that and send it to my son and my daughter who live with me for their safety, you know, because I live so close to that park. And it's not that the police don't do nothing. They have their hands tied because of de Blasio. My question is, why did all the constituents from this neighborhood allow so many shelters? I understand that people need a place to live, but at the same token, when they first came, they painted a beautiful picture that these guys were going to be working. I understand with COVID. I live it every day. I'm stressed from it. But the thing is, these guys don't care about anybody. And this is every night that when I go to work, I have to interpret for the doctors and the nurses of these guys getting assaulted. My concern is my son and my daughter who live with me.
Thank you, Jimmy. I have Judith Hamouche next. Judith, you can unmute yourself. Judith? Judith, can you unmute yourself? I can try to, I can't unmute you. You have to do it yourself. We'll try to get back to you then. Oh, I'm sorry, that was Jimmy's time. I have Joe. Sorry. I have Mary and Joe DiPiero next. You could unmute yourselves. You're unmuted. Mary and Joe?
Oh, Mary Ann and Joe, that's me and you. Look, see?
Mary and Joe?
I don't know what that means.
You're unmuted.
Did you want to speak?
Hello?
You can speak.
We're listening.
I
Hi,
guess
can you hear me?
we can hear you. You have your 2 minutes.
Oh, I'm sorry, I'm having a problem with my phone. I live on 31st Street between 3rd and 4th Avenue. And commenting on the women from 32nd Street, they seem to come down 31st Street. They've been urinating and going to the bathroom between parked cars on our block. And as far as the shelter goes on 30th Street, I've received many tickets for them loitering, throwing food, urinating on my walls. It's getting out of hand. I've reported it several times and I haven't had any results. It's totally disgusting. What can I do and where can I get help?
Well, we are here to figure out as a community board how we are going to respond. And I think we're going to demand that the agencies involved take action. And what we want to make sure of is that we agree on the action that should be taken. I see Alexa's hand up. Is there anyone before her, Jeremy?
The only one before her
Are you
did
kidding
not
me?
respond in the last round, so we will ask Alexa next. Alexa, you could unmute.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. I guess I'd like to know, I think the idea of the benches, especially in there are a number of those shelters that have driveways in the back, like particularly that one, Karen, on 32nd Street. It has a space all around it that is totally underutilized. And so how they utilize that for the residents so they have a place to go, I think is a very good suggestion. There are many complaints coming from the 32nd and I guess the 30 and 32nd shelters. And I haven't heard like who the providers are and what other kind of solutions are coming from those providers. So I'm curious if they've reached out to you, Karen, or we've had any communication with them.
We do have a list of the providers and their names and their contact information. And another suggestion that I am going to request, that we take action on is getting those hotel managers to post their contact information on the outside of their hotels so that the residents who live nearby have a way of contacting them when things happen that shouldn't be happening.
I have Cynthia Felix next.
I just want to add to what Jimmy Atilis was saying regarding the Pena Park. The principal also of the school has made many complaints about having to clean up needles and finding needles and a lot of drug paraphernalia, not just pot, but heroin needles all over the place. And they use that as their schoolyard, which is very problematic, because you don't want kids to pick up a needle or get hurt with a needle. So I think that's something we have to look at. And that's the 49th Street shelter between 2nd and 3rd.
Yeah, most of the shelters we're dealing with also on this 1 mile strip that I was talking about are from 39th to 22nd, I think.
Yeah, this
But
one's a
yeah,
little
that's
bit,
definitely within our area as well.
this one's a little further up, and we see them on 49th and 4th. We see them in the schoolyard on 47th by PS1, and that's where they loiter, and they're mostly coming from 49th Street shelter.
Thank
So
you.
like I said before, it'd be interesting to see the statistics from each shelter, like 911 calls. And I'm not saying for the people, because they're always fighting there, but surrounding area, you know, and if it's coming from there, because you also maybe random people, I don't know. But it seems to be coming from that area.
Thank you, Cynthia. I have Judith Hamouche again. Judith, you could unmute yourself. Judith? She may have stepped away. Okay, I have Mary and Joe DiPiero again. Mary and Joe, you could unmute yourselves. Mary and Joe? Okay, Karen, the only two hands I have up are not responding to me.
Okay, so I guess we can move on to the wrap up. I was going to, in my wrap up, ask for a volunteer to investigate about the New York City's fair share provision. Or maybe we can just, how do we find out more about that? Do we contact an attorney, Jeremy, or write a letter, or?
I can start off by going to the Borough President's Council, who acts like our council.
Yeah.
And I also, yeah, I'll get to you in a minute, Sylvia. I see your hand is up. I also wanted to ask the comptroller to review, someone was suggesting the Sleep Inn and the Glow Hotel to see if they meet the standards that we set out. And I also we should be sending letters to Carlos Menchaca, Eric Adams, Bill de Blasio, and others. And it sounds like, you know, I think the idea of having the hotel managers, all those shelters working together to expand their area of patrol would be the most useful solution, rather than to have the police obviously need to police crimes, like threatening people is a crime, shooting heroin is a crime. They need to deal with crimes, but these other issues that are nuisance behaviors, panhandling, things like that, I think it would be better for the hotel security to expand their area of presence to police that. And does anyone else have any? I see two more hands up right now.
So there are a couple of hands up, and then there's a question in the Q&A again. So why don't we go to the hands up first? That would be Sylvia Augusto next. Sylvia, you could unmute yourself.
Okay. Hi. In regards to what should a homeowner do, document everything. Take pictures, call 311, call 911. Just document as much as you can. Do you know, also, does this committee know that Samaritan is opening up another shelter on 51st and 2nd Avenue? And I think we should have a few of our own people in our committee walk with the staff and address certain problems. Just make an appointment with them and say, hey, we want to walk around and show you. And then have discussions with residents in the community as part of our committee. Because the only way that we're going to help these people, we don't know anybody's story, why they're in shelters. And we have to understand their part too, and we have to try to figure out how we can help them. But we have to have communication. We have to have communication more with the clients and more with the residents in the community that have to deal with the situations that they're dealing with. And we have to empower the residents in our community to not be afraid to document and call 311 and 911 and keep a log of the situations and then come back to us with it. We have dates and times and pictures and calls and 311 gives you a confirmation number. 911 also gives you a dispatcher, their number and the time that you called. We just have to document.
Thank you, Sylvia. And there's one more thing that I forgot to mention, and that's that for, the ultimate goal of the de-density hotels, and those are the hotels that were formed in reaction to the crisis of you couldn't have so many people living in a shelter right next to each other. So they had to put people very quickly due to COVID into 3 hotels an hour. Of the 7, 3 of them are de-density specifically to deal with COVID. And I think that it would be best, I know that there's not going to be a time deadline put onto when those will close, but I would like to put some sort of when 80% of the residents have been vaccinated or something like that, like a benchmarks, that when that is attained, we expect those shelters to be closed. So there's other people that are waiting to speak. I think there's both Cynthias.
Cynthia Gonzalez is next. Cynthia, you could unmute yourself.
I'm unmuting myself. It takes a minute for me. First of all, what I wanted to say was something regarding, related to what Karen said, that, that letters are going to be sent to the elected officials. I just wanted to say that a good majority of the elected officials are on their way out. Okay, so sending something to Carlos Menchaca, sending something to our borough president, these people, they're on their way out. I would recommend that if we want the problem to be addressed, we should call in all of these candidates that are, running in our district, in our borough, in our city. We should call these people in to address the problem, because this is not going to go away overnight. These people are gone. And to be honest with you, you can already see that they're very unresponsive. You don't see them anymore. They're just marking time. So I think that it would be much, much more productive if we can have a meeting with all of the candidates running in our district, in our city, in our borough, to see, what is it that what is their solution to the problem? Because we're not the only ones going through this problem. This is a citywide problem where there are thousands and thousands of people, tens of thousands of people, homeless, that other communities are experiencing what we're experiencing. Maybe not to the extent because we have like a big density of it in our district, but I wouldn't waste my time, sending letters to these people on their way out. Let's call in the new troops that supposedly have new ideas, and let's get them on board with our problem.
Thank you.
I have a follow-up question.
Next.
Thank you. I have a follow-up question for Yuri. Yuri, last time that you met with us, you said that the shelter, particularly the one that was being complained about, was reassigned as a shelter designation from a family shelter to all men, because the block didn't have an issue when it was a family shelter. These issues began when it was reassigned. And I had asked you, how often does DHS review needs and reassign shelter designations? So if you could follow up with us, that would be great to know, because I understand the 3 shelters that are, due to COVID, but that particular shelter we thought was a COVID overload, but you corrected us and said it was reassigned from family to men. And I wanted to know how often those reviews are done, and how do you assess to reassign them back to something else? Because that was one of the issues that block had, because it was a long-standing shelter, and as a family shelter, they didn't have a lot of issues. But now that it's all men, these issues cropped up. So that was my wondering.
Cynthia, thank you so much for that question and the comment. As far as needs, this is an ongoing basis. thus far, we've seen an increase in the single adult population. And in contrast, we saw a decrease in the families with children population as far as, the needs. So that's why the site was flipped. So it's based on the needs, depends on the season, maybe summertime, we might see, the tables might turn. So it's ongoing. It's not a designated time as far as determining, if there's more need for families or more need for single adults. It's based on what we see at the intake centers.
Thank you, Yuri. I have Alexa Aviles next.
I just wanted to say, as one of many of the candidates, I think Cynthia brings up a very good point, right? I think we should hear from the candidates. However, I would not dismiss our current elected officials. They're here for 7 months, and they have the authority and the power to compel agencies and to get things moving, or, to answer questions that certainly candidates would not be able to do, right? With no power outside of city. So I would encourage both. I would encourage absolutely those questions about the future, but absolutely pressure our current elected officials and representatives. So that's all I wanted to mention.
Thank you, Alexa. I would like to remind folks also that we are a government agency. We are not really an appropriate forum for candidate forums, but there are other appropriate forums in the community for that. Karen, I have one attendee that still has a hand up. May I call on them?
Sure. We'd like to hear from whoever that is.
I have Mary and Joe DiPiero again.
Okay.
You can unmute yourselves, Mary and Joe.
Sure. Karen, I'd like to know, do you live in the area around 31st Street and 4th Avenue?
33rd
Okay.
and 4th.
And you don't see any of this going on between the homeless shelter on 30th Street and the homeless shelter on 32nd Street, that they're taking over 4th Avenue?
I do see a lot more people hanging out, but I'm not, for whatever reason, I've never been threatened or been approached by any of the people, but there are more people hanging out, and
well,
I know that it's a problem because people are complaining about it also.
Yes,
So
well,
we
and I
definitely
have
take that
been
seriously.
approached, and it is very scary. I just have to tell you. And I don't understand how they're allowed. There's a school on 29th Street and 30th Street and 4th Avenue that
My
they're
daughter went there.
panhandling. Yes, and they're panhandling. They're asking the teachers and the students and whoever for money. I have a grave concern for the teachers and the children in that area. What can be done?
Well, I think that we're going to ask the shelter management to patrol the area more frequently and to expand the area of their patrols. And we can especially mention that school because it is right smack in the middle of all this activity. And, we want to make sure that everyone is safe.
Okay, we'll see.
I have Jimmy Attilis next. Jimmy, you could unmute yourself.
I just want to know, why is it that we have so many shelters? Bay Ridge, I think, only has one shelter, and that's only for runaway Arabic girls. How many shelters does Borough Park have? And why is it Sunset Park is always getting shitted on? It's very scary. It's very scary that it's a problem with Sunset Park, and everybody gets thrown hit. No different with 3rd Avenue. The unsafetyness of 3rd Avenue, and then when the last person that got killed was my coworker. She got hit by the motorcycle on 3rd Avenue, and nothing was done there. But somebody else gets killed, everybody's going to show face on 3rd Avenue that something's got to get done. Nothing gets done, though. Nothing.
That's exactly why I want to approach it from the Fair Share Act that's in our city shelters, because our city charter, because it does seem like we are sharing a greater percentage of the burden than we should be.
So Karen, I just screwed up and I accidentally muted Jimmy. I meant to hit another button. So Jimmy, I invite you to unmute yourself again and finish what you were saying. I'm sorry about that.
No, no problem. No problem, Jeremy. My thing is, you know, everybody, like I've gone to Machaca's office before Ortiz and when Deputy Inspector Gonzalez was here. Now I don't know this new captain. And it's just amazing because you can go to all these people, but no one does. They'll say, "We'll listen, we'll take your information." I've had suggestions for Third Avenue, for the parks and everything, but nobody does nothing. So eventually we have to wait until a crime occurs, and then the news is on the spotlight. Sunset Park again is on the spotlight, and then maybe things get done. That kind of scary because I live with my 26-year-old and my 21-year-old. That scares me.
Thank you, Jimmy. Karen, I have two more panelists hands up. I have Barbara Lee next. Barbara,
Hi, I'm undone. I have a question for Yuri. So you're sitting here and you're listening to all these people, especially about the shelter on 32nd Street. I just want to know, what are you taking away from this meeting and what kind of things are you going to implement as a result of that?
Barbara, the comments that I've heard here, you know, a lot of the complaints I heard, you know, it's really troublesome. That should not happen, right? I wouldn't want it to happen in my neighborhood where we have shelters. I will take this back to DHS leadership and ask for, you know, a conversation to be had with the site directors as far as, you know, perimeter rounds, you know, patrolling the areas, you know, ensuring that clients are adhering to the good neighbor policy. And Jeremy and Karen, I don't know if you can be so kind as to share the contact information with, you know, these board members, right? So they can relay the complaints in real time, right? As opposed to writing an email to me. Like, you can call, the site is open 24/7. These numbers are, you know, functioning. So flag it for there's always a shift supervisor, you know, at the shelters. If no one's doing anything about it, please let me know. Like, I will be on it immediately. But a conversation needs to happen. Someone mentioned that, you know, going out into the community and just like looking at the area, just like seeing what, you know, what clients are doing. I think that's a great idea, and I am willing to come out, right? Let's say the shelter does agree. I'm willing to come out to see for myself, to come to a solution, because, you know, it's really troubling what you guys are reporting as far as quality of life. But I also want to add that there may be an element of street homeless that is being conflated with the clients, right, that are at the various, you know, hotels and shelter sites. So if there are, you know, street homeless that is not under the purview of the various shelters, breaking ground needs to perhaps be a part of these conversations that we're having. And, you know, getting a readout of the work that they're doing, what it is they're seeing, right? They're available 24/7. It is their job to respond to the 311 calls for street homelessness. So I think breaking ground should also be brought into this conversation, and it doesn't end here.
Thank you, Yuri. I'd be happy to take a walk with you on any lovely afternoon. Cynthia Gonzalez, I have next for 2 minutes, or for however long, your chair.
I just wanted to know, because I thought that I heard, and maybe I'm wrong and I did not hear right, but I thought that the precinct was going to be also part of tonight's, you know, audience listening to what was happening. My question is there anyone here from the law enforcement department, you know, that's chiming in also about what they're hearing? And the second thing is that we need to bring in the district attorney, you know, into this conversation also, because that's another law enforcement arm that needs to be made accountable for response to our issues. So I would say that, bring in the people that can possibly do something or make recommendations to us about what we can do about the lawlessness that's going on here.
Cynthia, DA, the 72nd did intend on being here tonight, so I don't know what happened. Perhaps
They
something
let
came
us
up.
know,
There-
Officer Alexander, who was supposed to be here, let us know she actually had a shift change today, so she was no longer able to make it.
Yeah, I mean, Captain Castro has been great. He's called me and spoken to me on the phone at length about this problem. He's usually very responsive, so they were invited, and something must have come up tonight.
And that person should have been replaced.
I have Sylvia Augusto next. Sylvia, you could unmute yourself.
I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. I think that I just want us to understand that we need to talk to the clients and the residents. It's very important that we do this and that we go to different neighborhoods, not only on 30th or 31st, on 23rd, around Samaritan. I have talked to people in the neighborhood. Okay, I've done it personally by myself, and I've listened to them. And I think that it's very important that we understand this situation a little bit more. I know I've said it before, but I'll say it again. And another thing that we need to do, the St. Michael's has a soup kitchen, and they feed between 120 to 140 people every a van there. They had it on the news today that there's a van that's going to be starting in Sunset Park. I don't know how to get the information, but I think we should have that van there on Saturday to see if they could give shots to the people that are going there to pick up food. That is just an easy way of getting people their shots as soon as possible. So that's just another idea being thrown out. And also about us getting the van that we were promised over 2 years ago for the homeless to take showers. I know because of COVID, things have changed, but people still need to take a shower, and maybe they'll feel better about themselves if they have that opportunity to clean themselves, especially the people that are not able to live in a shelter. Or that we have the homeless that are living in the street. Thank you.
Thank you. I have Cynthia Felix next.
Yeah, I have another follow-up question. So I know we had asked before what was the current capacity of the shelters in CB7. Karen gave us some very raw numbers, but it would be interesting to know because I know at one point they outnumbered actually some of the residents, especially in that corridor over there. So that's another statistic I would like to get information on, as well as just to comment about, again, the importance, I agree with you, Sylvia, the importance of community conversations, but a lot of the my community where I live near the 49th Street shelter, we feel unheard. We've been talking about this and making complaints, 311, 911, like the caller, Mary and Joe, I see a lot of people urinate, defecate on the street. I have seen people have sex on the stoop, and all of it has been recorded. All of it has been done. And a lot of the times the precinct really says they can't do much about it, and that was the frustration that a lot of people shared at the previous meeting, that they do call and do outreach, but unfortunately, there's not much that could be done by the precinct. They do come out, they take the report, but nothing could be done about it. And I think that's the frustration level that people have, that they stopped engaging because they're like, we're complaining, but nothing's happening. So I think that we also need to have clear follow-up steps after we hear people, what is it that we're going to do about what they said?
Good point.
Thank you, Cynthia. I have Danielle, is it pronounced Lai, next?
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, it is Danielle Lai. I'm new, so I just wanted to introduce myself. I'm at work, so don't mind the noise, but I'm an ICU Thank you. I'm an ICU nurse at NYP. I work in the open heart unit, and I also have been doing vaccinations on the side. And I wasn't sure if this is the van that one of the members was talking about, but de Blasio is planning on sending a van around Sunset Park the 7th, 8th, 9th, I believe, to vaccinate restaurant workers. And so I wasn't sure if that was the van that was being referred to, but I do know that that company, Daybreak, which I work with, has opened up a vaccination site in Flatbush, which is allowing people and to walk in as well as make appointments at the YMCA. And so I do think that as far as vaccinations are concerned, if we could get a site like that in Sunset Park that, you know, people can walk into, that would be excellent. And I've never sat on a committee before or done anything in government, so this is a first time for me. I'm recently purchased a home in Sunset Park, and I wanted to say that I'm sorry that everyone is having a hard time with this, and I think everyone has great ideas, and I'm very happy that this is a discussion. You know, I walk home late at night, I get home at around 9, and so I've also seen what, you know, everyone is talking about here, and I'm just excited that there's a place and a forum that is taking this seriously, and I'm happy that you allowed me to join the board. So or the committee. So thank you.
Thank you.
I have Victor Swinton next.
Yes, Jeremy, how you doing? I actually do work in law enforcement. I probably really shouldn't probably speak because I'm not supposed to, but just to answer some of the questions when it comes to policing, since this whole defunding the police situation, there was a call from the governor to come up with some reforms for the police department. What's happening with the police department, and whether you agree with them or not, they're taking away a lot of minor violations, police and using other people, handlers in the community to deal with it. So, I mean, a lot of problems comes with this bail reform. I was still talking about how people get arrested back out, but kind of put that in place a little bit. Judges have to go by what's law. Quality of life complaints, the DA's pretty much said most of them they're not going to prosecute. So, you know, cops might make arrests, might give summonses, and then dismiss. 911 numbers, you should get police department. There's no reason why they tell you they can't give you those numbers. And 311 numbers should also come from the city. So there shouldn't be no reason why those numbers can't be made available. That's running out of time.
Thank you, Victor. You seem to have frozen for me also, so I'm not sure if you were still speaking there.
Is that it, Jeremy?
Yeah, I don't have any other hands up, Karen.
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone very much for coming tonight. I want to thank everyone, all the concerned residents. You care enough about your community to come to these meetings. I want to thank Yuri and, you know, just everyone for being here and participating in this. It is frustrating where, you know, we try to do things and we'll try to follow up. We will follow up on this, and, you know, hopefully I'll have something ready for the board at the next board meeting. That would be my goal, and we'll continue on this, keeping up on this and working with each other to get a solution. And I hereby call this meeting to a close. I think I'm not the only one who's hungry. Thank you.
Thank you, Karen. Thank you, everybody. We're going to close the meeting now.
Right.
Have a good night, everyone.
Good night,
Night.
everyone.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Good night.
Natasha, I don't know if you got Sammy, Sierra, he was on the call.
I got